Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and I think it is finally time that I pull the immutable words of Razor Fist and say, F you, I was right. Now, a lot of people still disagree with me on The Last of Us, but I think there's enough evidence out there for me to come out and say that, because we have a lot of news about the future of the show, season 2 coming up with part 2, and specifically some comments made by the writer of episode 3, which was just a random gay spin-off of The Last of Us, which had nothing to do with the plot of the show. You could skip entirely and miss nothing, and the motivations behind writing this episode are an interesting point of fact that I think justifies my position on all this. This adaptation was not driven by good motivations. Their priorities were all out of whack. This wasn't about bringing The Last of Us to life. This wasn't about bringing Joel and Ellie to life. This was about telling a message. This was about co-opting a beloved franchise, as Hollywood always does. Now, these comments that I'm referring to come from an interview with The Independent, where Peter Hoare, the guy who wrote episode 3, said he wanted to trick viewers into watching episode 3's gay love story. It wasn't about telling the story in a post-apocalyptic world, telling this love story being cool. It was about tricking the audience to accept something that he wanted it to. Now, of course, the gay aspect has nothing to do with it. The pointless aspect is more what I have an issue with, and how every character in episode 3 was built off countless stereotypes to excuse a lack of creativity from the position of the writers. Now, Peter Hoare, he is from It's a Sin, which is a very interesting thing that I wasn't initially aware of. It's a Sin is a prominent gay show that has a lot of gay love stories, and he was specifically brought in to write this gay love story. Now, that is a problem because he has zero experience writing something of this caliber, writing a horror show, writing a apocalyptic show, writing an action show, which isn't kind of important when you're writing a show like this, and kind of evident when you watch the episode, because there's only one moment of action in the entire thing, and it is built on absolute stupidity. It's clear that the writer had no idea how to operate guns, how basic tactics work. The prepper guy walks out in the middle of the street, spotlighted by fire, unable to see the opponents, but the opponents can clearly see him, and he has zero cover, and he's shooting a bolt-action rifle at him. It's clear that the writer had no idea about basic tenets of action or logic, because a lot of the logic of this episode was not sound, and the stereotypes are what fueled it, and I think it's the stereotype that has kind of confused or tricked a lot of audience members to thinking that this is a well-written episode. No, these are just stereotypes, and yes, stereotypes can be good, they can be used well, but when they're used as an excuse to not write well, to not develop your characters, that becomes a problem, which makes it poor writing. And so, yes, these are stereotypical gay characters. These are stereotypical preppers. Everything about these characters was stereotypical and void of any depth whatsoever that wasn't derived from stereotypes. And Peter Hoare, when was another example of a person being brought in to write a show that they had no experience and they had no business writing for that show, and then end up writing a terrible episode? I specifically think of season 11 of Doctor Who, and it happened a lot over those later seasons of Doctor Who, but specifically when they brought in a feminist writer who had never written an episode of television in her life, let alone sci-fi fantasy television, and had her write one about the witch trials in England with King James. And it was clear when you watch that episode that that person writing it had no idea what she was doing, because it was just about third wave postmodern feminism drivel. That was the only motivation of that episode. That was the only thing it was about, is telling a message, teaching the audience that they were bad. That is the same situation we have here. The writer does not want to tell a good story. He was not hired to tell a good story. Craig Manson and Neil Druckmann looked for someone who's like, ooh, he knows how to write gay people. Let's have him do a gay episode. Instead of being like, all right, we need someone who understands characters. We need someone who understands post-apocalyptic. Do you think he'll be a good fit? Let's see. Oh, no. He's never done anything like this before. I think we'll go some other way. No, they specifically went, gay. He knows gay people. He can do gay people. It was propaganda driven to the 9th degree, and what was the result of that? Poor writing that feels totally out of place tonally and just overall from this show. It is completely divorced from the story of Joel and Ellie. It is completely divorced from the story of Bill and Frank. It is completely divorced from good writing or storytelling that makes any sort of logical sense. I will firmly defend my position on this episode that it was poorly written and a bad episode of television. I know I'm in the minority of that, but this is proof that the priorities at The Last of Us are out of whack, and it's only going to get worse. I firmly believe that things are only going to get worse, and I'm interested to see how things progress in the coming weeks, to see if we have more comments like this coming from the showrunners, the writers, where they say, hey, we weren't writing a good story. We weren't thinking fans first. We weren't thinking characters first. We were thinking propaganda first. We were thinking how to trick the audience into viewing what we wanted them to view because they're bad people and we disagree with them and they have to agree with us or they are bad people. I firmly believe more of this is coming, especially with the soon introduction, whether or not the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2, of Big Daddy Pump Abby, and that is when things will fully go off the rails, and I can't wait for it to happen because F you, I was right. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.